A little bit of curiosity and a lot of madness.
We're actually traveling through to the lake in the north.
So, Fenufar. Yes, I know of
Yes.
it. There was a gnome traveling with you. One of our kind.
Zook. In fact, it's really his fault that we're here anyway.
I should say so. It's not possible to find this village unless you're traveling with one of our kind. But what interests me is, it seems no one in town knows where he's from, what his family is, his history, his relations. And I find this disquieting.
Captain, I think you can answer this question better than I ever could.
Are there any onions being served with lunch?
Do you know minor illusion?
Yeah, but...
Not raw
the
ones.
real
Minor illusion of an onion.
better.
You can get cooked onions. They will stew them up for you.
Oh, you see, Tarin's gonna stop and think. He's not from... Well, you see, the world isn't exactly a non-planar three-dimensional space bounded by...
Khalil rolls his
Why do I-
eyes and gives that whole "here we go again" sigh.
Because I assume every one of those statements doesn't get any traction, and Tarin just sort of fades off from there.
No, and after you fade off, he reiterates the question. He's very interested to know Zook's bloodline, his family, what clans is he connected to, what woods does he come from? No woods that I know of for sure.
No woods that you could walk to. No, even if you were to walk forever in a straight line, you'd have to walk along a line that goes into a dimension that you cannot comprehend. Am I getting better at explaining this? I'll ask Khalil over the mind link.
No.
By the look of confusion and a little bit of frustration on Maris's face. No, you're not. They'll look to be getting any better at it. But he extends an invitation. He says, if you don't mind, I would like to have you and your company over for dinner and conversation this evening.
I'll extend that invitation to my crew. Thank you.
You're very gracious of you to invite us.
He nods and takes his leave, walks away from the table, exits the tavern.
Captain, we have to talk. Never bring up the onions again, please.
I didn't use onions that time because I realized it wasn't quite working.
Whatever. I'll go back to my drink.
The other three of you asked to speak to Umpo or Ellis. They're a married couple. They own the tavern jointly. Umpo usually works the kitchen and Ellis works the house.
Which one was working the house? Umpo?
Ellis, the wife.
Ellis.
Ellis? Yeah, probably Ellis. She's working the house, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And she's a very
someone who'd work the house.
jovial-looking gnomish lady, and she's well-dressed, but very, very busy. Very hard-worked right now. And she greets you cheerfully, asks what you'll be having, asks if you've tried the Zodabrow.
You know what? I will order some Zodabrow, but
Yeah, make it
about
two.
that,
3 all around.
Okay, and how will you be paying?
I'll take out a gold piece from my pouch.
Oh, it's 3 gold pieces per tankard of Zodabrow.
Whoa.
Alright.
3 gold pieces.
That's some stout liquor.
She says,
I put out 9,
she
because that's how I roll.
takes the priest's money. So I'll have it brought out to you, gentlemen.
Actually, we have something else to talk to you about. Have you ever seen an Eldove will mutter and wave his hands around and cause the image of a gnome's head to appear?
Which
gnome that
gnome
he was talking to earlier.
should I ask? Of Yanvar?
The spook, the bullshit gnome. You know,
The bullshit gnome, I love
bag
it.
gnome.
When she sees the face, the cheer and the joy drain away from her. And she thrusts the 9 gold pieces back at Arik. Says,
Hey.
well, If I had known that you were acquaintances of Yanvar, I would not have offered.
Oh, no.
Oh,
We're not
no, I feel like you're
acquaintances.
misunderstanding us. This man approached me to steal some of your ale, and I just wanted to warn you that he was out there doing so.
And then you came here straight away and ordered 3 tankards.
Well, you'll remember we tried to talk to you first. We just thought the tankers would be good.
She's looking back and forth between the 3 of you, and you see that the facade of friendliness that she wore earlier is gone now. But she confirms, yes, Yanvar was in here asking around about the formula. He's not the only one. These people
I just
have
wanted
been
to
after
drink,
my family's recipe
and-
for generations.
I just want a drink. I'll drink it right in front of you. And I push the gold back over.
And Zook nods and says, "Yeah, I honestly just want to try this famous brew myself. And we just wanted to pass along this warning. We're from out of town, and we want to let you know that this is what happens to out of towners. This guy's trying to get people to do this for him."
Are there any
Roll persuasion, both of you.
lawkeepers or people in... Alright. Well,
Not you.
The third
other
of us?
2. Khalil, or not Khalil, Zook and Arik roll persuasion. As far as lawkeepers, those would be the axemen. Technically, they're just city guards, but in as much as anybody would have to keep the peace in this village.
16.
Yeah, but I'm using it as part of the conversation.
Oh.
Like,
Damn, I didn't boost persuasion. That's only a 13 on my end.
What did Arik get?
16.
She accepts Arik's money. The 9 gold. You can tell with some reservation. She says, very well. Go ahead and pull up to the bar over here. She says, but no funny business or I'll have the axeman after you. And she shuffles along into the back room.
Duke will give her a hearty thank you. The bar, keep his hands in plain sight.
And I mean, the bar is built for gnomes, so...
So we're standing at the bar is what I'm hearing?
standing room only. Is
You're
what
like
we're
stooping at the bar, probably.
Stooping down, right. Before long, she comes back with 3 gnome-sized tankards, so, I mean, Arik, you're not gonna...
Oof. May have to put down 2 more gold.
Is it good though?
And she puts down these 3 frothy mugs in front of you. And it's delicious. It's definitely a dwarven brew. Definitely. At some point in the far past, this was dwarven beer. But the recipe, as she watches you drink it, and she sees that you're not going to make off with it, and you're not putting it in any kind of magic bag. You're not putting it in any kind of magic bag, are you?
No. We have much better things to put in a magic bag.
He's just like, alright, Orphan, I need you to just sneeze in this bag for hours. She begins to warm up to you a little bit, and she talks about the history of the recipe. And you can tell this is a spiel very well rehearsed. This is something that she tells to travelers and the odd foreigner that she gets in the tree. Like, this is a story that all the gnomes of the village know. That one of her great ancestors, a dwarf named Zoder, was a dashing and handsome adventuring rogue that snuck into the hall of a great king during a feast and stole the recipe of their beer right out from under them and made off with it. And then as it was passed down through the generations of Zoder's descendants, most of which were gnomes, they infused it with a maple flavor, which is what you're drinking now.
I put another 3 gold down. If I enjoy it that much, yeah.
Yeah, it's very
Get my
tasty.
back on.
It's strong, but it's, for a man of Arik's size...
I know my limits.
It's
Yeah.
portioned for a gnome, so...
Yeah, it's portioned for a gnome. But yeah,
I know
she's
my
very...
limits.
She tells the recipe is very tightly guarded. Yeah, if you pay her another 3 gold, she brings out another tankard for you, but she cuts you off after that.
All right.
Do you buy another round?
Yeah, why not?
All right.
What would 2 of these do to Zook? Is Zook going to be pretty hammered after 2 of these?
Probably not. No more than after two mugs of any other kind of beer.
Fair enough. Didn't know how potent it was.
I'm just
Maybe
picturing Zook sitting there. It comes in pints.
This is a pint.
So, about the Axemen, have you talked to them about this guy trying to steal your recipe?
So there hasn't been any need so far.
Well, it might
Yanvar
get
has
a
this
bit worse.
fool idea that he can take the recipe and pack our beer into kegs and sell it to humans outside of the woods.
That sounds ridiculous.
But she informs you that the production of this homemade brew is very costly, and they don't produce. That's why they don't mass produce and trade it. It's sold just to the local villagers more than anyone.
So,
And this is kind of what this particular gnomish village has become known for in the woods.
Oh, okay.
Soderbrow, put us on the map.
It's not so much that you don't trade it, it's just that you
The map.
you don't have the means to at the moment. Or do you just want to sell it in the village?
She kind of gives you the leery eye a little bit. She says, and what's your point?
I have been involved in selling things before, but I always try to make sure that both parties are happy with the trade. I don't want any... I'm more interested in relationships than in just making money on one thing.
She says, well, you traded me 6 coins for 2 mugs. Are you happy with the trade?
It seems good for now, yeah. I'm getting the picture, don't worry.
Then so am I, and that's where we'll leave it. Have you gentlemen
Sounds
had
good.
lunch yet?
I guess we haven't because we came upstairs before they served lunch, so no.
They bring around the afternoon meal is served. Ham and eggs.
Ham and eggs?
Something wrong with their eggs?
No. Ham and eggs is not an afternoon meal.
It is in a gnomish village.
That's what I was gonna say. I was
You
gonna
ever,
say
you ever
gnomes, man.
been to a gnomish village?
I
You
was
never
gonna
had the,
say gnomes, man. They're crazy.
you never had the full gnomish? Afternoon ham
Oh
and
god.
eggs?
When we were in high school, side note,
Sidebar.
we were introducing D&D to somebody who hadn't played before, and he didn't get the difference between gnomes and dwarves. So he's like, "What's the difference between a gnome and a dwarf?" And none of us had really given any thought, so we didn't know either. My friend just said, "Oh, well, a gnome has a horizontal butt crack. If he moons you, it goes side to side." We're like, "Okay, that's the difference," and that's just become a running gag through D&D games for years after that.
That's terrifying.
Awful.
Gnomes do things in funny ways, is all I'm saying.
Ham and eggs.
Ham and eggs for lunch.
And if they've got any tagliapie dessert.
She says you'll have to speak with Jocelyn about that.
Oh. Well, okay then.
She says, yeah, she's the sweet old lady, and she describes her.
Yes, I encountered her this morning.
She says,
I'm going to buy some of her jam.
She says, you will not be disappointed. She says, I hear tell that she's going to be making a large pot of her famous salmon stew for the festival.
Oh, is that so? Sounds delicious.
Why does so much of our roleplay involve food? I'm starving now.
I was just thinking that too.
At this point, the door opens again, and Golly enters, the druid, with a couple of younger gnomes to either side, and all 3 of them are holding their skirts out in front of them. Their skirts filled with berries and nuts, and you're not sure what all kind, but all 3 of them walk in, and as soon as the door opens, Ellis looks up from her conversation with you, and she excuses herself, takes her leave, and goes over to them. And they're doing some sort of trade. They're bringing in the berries and nuts that Ellis uses here in the tavern to make various foodstuffs. Throughout their transaction, though, you can't hear them over the din of the place, but throughout their transaction, Golly looks over at Arik repeatedly, and she seems distracted by him in a weird way. And then once they're done, and Ellis collects up all of the forage into a sack and takes it back into the kitchen. And then the druid and her two little acolytes leave.
I give her a wink before she goes.
Eldove nudges Arik. He said, I think that gnome is into you.
Yeah, I saw.
You go talk to her.
I might.
So any other plans going on this afternoon in the tavern?
Not in the tavern, but is what's-his-name gonna be at the dinner tonight? Well, I wouldn't know in any case. So I'm gonna go look for what's-his-name? The mage who brought us here?
Zilbus?
Yeah. Zilbus already took off.
Zilbus. No, he was going to be here for a day.
Yeah, he was going to stay until tomorrow morning, but you don't know where he is in town right now. And yeah, he tells you that he's going to be at Maris's tonight.
Ah.
Alright, because I want to find out from him how the heck we're supposed to get out of this forest.
So, evening actions then. Is everybody going to the dinner?
Yeah, it sounds like we're doing dinner.
At Maris's?
Yeah, can we leave? Would we have time to leave a note at the Rangers asking them if they would see us in the first thing in the morning before they're off?
Or do we have a nighttime action that wouldn't be disturbing them while they sleep or something?
Well, nighttime action would be disturbing them since it's the middle of the night. But yeah, you can leave word there if you want.
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to talk to Hella in particular, or do you just want to talk to one of the Rangers, or... Golly tends not to leave the village, from what you understand.
Yeah, but
at least not far.
We wanted to talk to Hella.
Well, we're going fishing, so...
Well, I just wanted to be polite, and because I've been talking to Rangers a lot more lately anyhow, I kind of wanted to talk to Hella, but I wanted to see if I could talk to her in the morning before she left.
You can leave word for her.
Okay, let's do that, and then we'll try to catch her in the morning. Does that sound good, Arik?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Alright, we'll just get up at the butt crack of dawn to go talk to them.
And walking over to Maris's place, Maris's tree, you see, now that the market is kind of broken up for the day, you see one of the axemen, the same one from this morning, Khalil. He has an archery target set up, and some Gnomish children are taking turns firing arrows at it, and he's giving them direction. And as you're walking towards Maris's house, again, you see him, he looks up at you, kind of locks eye. He just doesn't like the look of you at all. He's watching his kids shooting arrows at the target, and one of them makes a shot, and it just goes completely wide. Like, you hear the twang of this bow, and it just sounds like mocking laughter. Arrow goes completely wide and misses the target. And the axeman says, you're going to need more practice if you're going to become any sort of proficient with that bow. So you don't shoot any better than Longshanks over there. And at the mention of it, the other kids all look over at Khalil and
I'll roll my eyes,
titter a little bit. And he just watches you go past.
Yep.
We have a Robin Hood arrow competition. Sorry.
If I didn't have somewhere to be, I would have
arrow competitions.
if I didn't have somewhere to be right now, I'd give this guy a piece of my mind. But nope.
Is this are we walking across as a group? Then do I see all this take place?
Sure.
I say briefly to the guy. I was like, I'm pretty good with the bow and arrow. Maybe
cough.
With my bow, I say, with a short bow, I wouldn't mind doing a lesson or something at some point, maybe tomorrow evening.
You talking common or in Gnomish?
What were they speaking? Were they speaking Gnomish?
They were speaking Gnomish amongst themselves. When he lobbed the insult at Khalil, he spoke it in common.
Well, I would be... After he spoke to Khalil in common and I knew he spoke common, I would probably say this in common, just for their benefit. For everyone's benefit.
And the axeman looks you up and down. Says, and what do you suppose you'd have to teach us? You're not from around here. Where do you come from?
Oh, I've been all over. I've been a traveler for many, many, many years now.
Says, and where did you learn to shoot? So, did you teach that one?
Oh no, I encountered Khalil many years later. Khalil's a good shot in his own way. Sword is his main weapon.
But you've dodged the question.
Well, I answered one of your questions. I learned how to shoot. I was trained.
Tarin stops him. He learned how to shoot perched in the crow's nest of a ship, taking a pirate off another ship half a mile away.
The Axman nods somewhat approvingly. So you're a pirate then, talking to Zook.
Well, yes and no. We spent some time sailing in a pirate vessel.
Privateer.
But you won't tell me what wood you come from. Won't tell me who your family is.
No, I would gladly tell you my family. You just wouldn't know them. My surname is Timbers. My wood is from a long ways away. You wouldn't have known of it. From a different world.
Says, well, around here we know everybody worth knowing. But he steps aside. Says, alright then, have us a lesson. Show us how it's done.
Alright. I'll take aim at their target. Why not? You want me to roll for it?
Yeah. All the Gnomish children are watching this.
So that'll be a 18 to hit.
You hit AC 18?
Yeah.
Yeah, you hit the target. Not the bullseye, you hit the target.
Okay.
They seem impressed enough.
And I'd say, I'm okay, but I wouldn't. I haven't really had the chance to teach anyone, pass along my skills. But I'd be willing to talk to these kids. Might be fun.
He said, "Oh, so you're after my job then?"
No, not at all. I'm just trying to be friendly. But if you don't want, then I'll be on my way.
Well, I appreciate that you're trying to be friendly. But I have no desire to be friends with a gnome that has no family and no clan. Too ashamed to tell us where he's from. Nope. No, sir. No desire to be your friend at all.
I think you do misunderstand me, but I'm not going to force the issue. I have a dinner to go to. Have a good evening.
As you walk away, he shoots one last stink eye at Khalil.
I'll shake my head, and turn and walk toward the elder's house.
You sure you don't want to fight him?
Not right now, no.
Listen, Eldove, I know we don't get along, but there's this guy I want you to set on fire.
By the time you guys get to Maris's house, Orphan's already sitting there with a whole bowl full of phlegm that she's been filling up over the course of the day. It's pretty disgusting looking, and you're not sure if you should ask questions. Oh yeah, the congestion's got worse over the course of the day. You've been trying to, throughout the late afternoon, you were trying to stick to portions of the village that had less foliage, less pollination. And you've been racked with a couple of coughing fits here and there.
Orphan, what?
And yeah, Maros and Zilbis are both here when you all arrive. And Orphan's got her bowl of phlegm.
Is this some kind of tiefling thing, or
What the hell is going on? Where were you today?
It's a long story.
you know what? I'm almost certain that no matter what she tells us, we're not going to be happy with the explanation.
Is there a reason you're saving your phlegm?
Yeah, I mean, aren't we coming to dinner? Isn't that a little rude as it is?
He just dropped again.
I mean, I can
Is this so
come up
wizards
with.
can't track you? Because I don't think that's how it works.
I'm sure I've got some medicine that can help you if you're not feeling well.
How full is the beaker?
Oh, we've completely lost him.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right,
Thanks,
so
Dad.
he's got Flim. Let's go to dinner.
Yeah, Maros and Zilbis are both there.
Okay.
And they welcome you inside.
Hey,
What?
you're back.
Hey, welcome back.
Okay. So I would say, oh, it's an experiment.
An experiment.
Like a social experiment?
Alchemical.
Of course, alchemical. Right.
Don't mind me.
I'll try not to.
Let's eat.
And Maros opens the door and sees you all congregating outside and sees the jar of mucus that Orphan is holding. Says, I see you visited with Kelfig today. Just
She nods.
shakes his head and says, I deeply apologize for whatever it is he did. Please, come in. Come in.
Tarin's just gonna shrug. Seem like an alright guy to me.
You would.
You go in.
That I'm definitely worried.
Zilbis is already sitting in the front room of Maris's house. And he offers you all coffee.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coffee sounds delicious.
Sure.
How's the coffee?
Strong.
Detect magic on the coffee. No, I don't.
Not magical.
Yeah.
Not even magically delicious?
And Maros
I don't know.
says...
I don't know. Is Eldove done anything to make it
I was gonna
magically
say.
delicious?
How strong is the coffee? Like, is it gross?
No, it's... Well, it depends on whether or not Eldove likes coffee. Eldove doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who would drink a cup of coffee.
Eldove strikes me as the kind of guy who would drink a cup of coffee, but put a lot of cream in there.
Like, Maros hands Eldove coffee, and Eldove looks at it and is like, okay, well, you didn't even make a design in my whip on the top, so...
Where is
Throw
my
it over
foam
his
leaf?
shoulder.
Yeah.
I imagine that these would be like espresso shots to these guys, though.
And Maros opens the conversation by saying, Zilbis informs me that you all had a run-in with the Fomorians.
I guess
it
that's
was-
what you'd call them.
Yep.
It was big fun, let me tell you.
The laundry things?
Says, yes, their manner of dress is somewhat curious, I suppose.
They seemed oddly critical of my clothing for laundry pile monsters.
Says, well, you have to admit, you do dress rather drab, don't you think?
It's not drab. It's practical.
Tarin is going to nod and say, yes, there's a disturbing lack of color.
Zook just throws him a look and says, "You know what? The next time we go to one of those big cities, I am buying the brightest cloak I can find."
You know, I just said it to waste time, but he really does make me look good next to him, though. I'm kind of okay with it.
And Maros says, I can perhaps shine some light on your confusion then. He says, this deep in the woods, there's an old enchantment here. Deep in the
We've
roots.
noticed.
Says, and most travelers would pass through the woods and not notice anything is amiss. And he motions to Eldove and says, surely you've heard of caravans, merchants from the cities where you come from, traveling back and forth across the duchies to no ill effects. Says,
I
but
just assumed they went around, but yes.
well, it would depend on where they were going. If they were going to Lake Fenufar, they would go through the woods because that's the quickest path. Not a very well beaten path, because the guy at Lake Fenufar is not the most sociable motherfucker in the world. But you've heard stories of people going into the woods and then not returning, but you've never heard stories of people stumbling across gnome villages. You've never heard stories of people getting hopelessly lost, even trying to navigate by the stars. But Maros says that the lot of you had the misfortune of entering the wood with Zook at your side. a sylvan gnome, born of the woods, much like these. Says the woods recognized him and drew him in. And unfortunately, you crossed paths with the Fomorians before you crossed paths with any of us.
Yeah, I was quite disturbed that I couldn't make my way through these woods. I'm usually quite at home in the woods and have even become better at tracking lately.
He says, and that just raises the question, then, that I've posed to Zilbis here, and Zilbis seems as perplexed as I am. And at the word perplexed, Zilbis shakes his head. He says, perplexed. I'm not perplexed at all. It makes perfect sense to me. The problem is you're trying to make sense out of it. When you realize it doesn't make sense, that's when it will make perfect sense to you as well. Get me an onion. I'll show you how it's done.
Wow.
I love Zilbis. Can he be a part of our party? Does he have levels?
Tarin will cast Minor Illusion and create an onion hovering in front of Zilbis.
Zilbis didn't actually mention an onion. I'm just making fun of you.
And Zook will say, I've been trying to. I've had many questions throughout the town, and I understand that people are suspicious because they don't understand the explanation. But it really is true that I am not from this world. None of us are. Well, these two are. Okay, many of us aren't.
Y'all keep saying that.
He says, well,
Yeah.
I don't know.
and he motions to Eldove and says, the half-elf here I recognize as a man of Dunfoss. And he motions to Arik and says, and the priest here I recognize his vestments, though I do not know the name and nature of your god. My apologies. But the vestments I recognize from the fishermen far, far to the south. And then he looks at Khalil and
I
says,
nod.
and by this man's... you're not actually dressed in a manner of Kiska anymore, though, are you?
Yeah,
Armor's still from
actually.
Kiska, I think.
Yeah, the armor that I have is from Kiska.
Okay. Well, he says, yeah, I judge by this man's armaments and his, the complexion of him, the tone of his hair and eyes, that he is from the exotic lands from across the sea.
You seem well traveled.
He says, there are woods in many places, even in Romneus, if you know where to look.
Well, but surely in your great many years, I can, you have heard of travelers from other worlds. Have you not been up into the mountains? I forget what that area was called now.
It's Razak?
Durazak.
Yeah, have you not been to Thryzak or any of these lands to speak to people who have traveled from other realms?
I've never...
Zook, I think we found the person from other worlds.
Yes, I'm not really. I think it's just the three of us and him and one or two of the sailors on that ship.
Okay, fair enough. I figured there would have been more, in the past 500 years.
No, that's actually a significantly, that's a question I am honestly a little bit obsessed about. It doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Why
Fair.
aren't there more people if it's just a... Huh.
Well,
Just kind of wanders off into thought.
Well, and my friend here, obviously is from a different world and is very perplexed by this as well, as is the Tiefling.
Maros ponders this for a moment. He says it's been well known to us that Tieflings, such as they are, have blood that comes from, as you say, in other worlds, far back in their ancestry. He says, but what I don't understand is whatever distance there is between the wood that I grew up in here and where Zook is from, why have I not heard of it? Why have I not heard of this forest you hail from, the family that raised you? Says, surely. Says, I'm not well-traveled myself, admittedly, but word amongst gnomes travels broadly. And so, to see you here sitting me, I must say, it's nothing short of miraculous that we could have overlooked a bloodline this long.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you. My bloodline is not from this world. There's no one else from my bloodline here. I came here on a mysterious ship that I was captured on.
Go on.
Well, all right. You know, I'll just start at the beginning, and Zook will go into the story about how he was on a ship and it was boarded, and he was put into a brig with strangers that he didn't know. Some of which are here, and point out the guys who were there.
And he says, well, as I say, though, there's forests even in Romneus if you know where to look. So even if you were from far across the sea in any direction, he's like, there would have been mention of you somewhere.
Well, any mention of me that you might be able to find mention of me just from what I've done since I've arrived here. But as far as
I mean your family, your bloodline, your parents. You understand the clan.
My clan and my parents are long lost to me now. I can't find my way back to them.
So, well, if you were to tell me the name of this clan and where they hail from, I could give you direction. I could point you back.
I really don't think you... I mean, you could try, and I tell him Clan Timbers, and I tell him the name of the wood I'm from, which I haven't actually come up with.
And he doesn't know what either of those things are. And
right. And
he's very insistent, like, perhaps you suffered injury, some magical malady that has confused you or clouded your memory. Perhaps that's the problem.
Oh, it's a magical malady, all right, but it's not confusion. I was brought here against my will.
He says, well, if it's some sort of magical malady, then perhaps Zilbus here can help clear the issue. And Zilbus, by this point, is just sitting there listening to this. He's got this look on his face like, I've already tried to explain this to him, and I don't even get it myself.
And I think Zook will...
Tarin will stop, and he'll pull out his book. And he'll go to a blank page, and he'll get an ink quill and a pen. He will draw a circle. This is Romneus, and he'll fill in Tetlateus and the other two. Imagine this is the entire thing, right? This is the entirety of the world. You could walk anywhere along this page, correct?
So it would be a very, very long walk.
No, yeah, obviously you'd want to swim or sail, but in theory, you could walk anywhere along the page.
Says, well, no, you can't walk across the ocean. You can't
but you could travel
walk over the mountains.
If you could fly, you could fly over the ocean. If you could burrow, you could burrow. You could travel there conveniently enough.
And he looks at Zook and says, your family is a burrowers of the... You have the blood of the deep gnomes in you, then.
And Tarin's
Eldove's gonna take out some cards and go play cards with Zilbus.
And tears a page. Tears the page out of the book and puts it down next to it, and then draws a sphere. This is my world. They're on separate pieces of paper. There is no way to travel between them. Because if you walk, no matter how far you walk across Tetlateus, you'll eventually reach the elemental ferocities themselves. Like that, it's just like this. It is separate, entirely separating fields of existence. Only magic can cross them.
But surely you're captain of the ship. Surely you can just sail home.
Zook kind of holds up a hand and says, "Listen, is it just simpler for me to leave it at I don't have a clan, I don't have a forest, and frankly, I would like to have one again."
Are you asking him to adopt you?
Will you be my daddy?
Just whatever's going to make this end the quickest. Not in the quickest, but no. I feel like, yeah, I'm a gnome without a forest in this world.
Well,
that's.
You'll be welcomed in any village you go to, but always as an outcast until we can identify where it is you're from, who it is you're connected to. You can never truly have a home.
Yeah, I know. I've been feeling that more and more lately. Duke actually gets a little rarely downcast at that thought.
I will applaud the captain for being able to try to explain that without using an onion this time.
And the conversation eventually turns to each of you in turn. Maris is curious to know how you all came into contact with Zook and why you haven't attempted to return him to the woods before. He's convinced that Zook is... He's not going to put it like that fine a point on it, but he's convinced that Zook is slow. He's convinced that Zook is a little nutty.
Oh.
He thinks
Well.
that Zook has just forgotten where he's from and can't place it.
And that's better than where I thought he might go with it. I thought he might think something sinister, like I was banished from somewhere.
I think we're all a little nutty.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't think that about Tarin, I'd be a little worried about him.
Well, I mean, he's not really concerned with Tarin because Tarin's not a gnome. Humans are strange and bizarre creatures from beyond the woods, regardless of where you're from.
A little xenophobic. Don't worry about it.
Well, if you think that Zook's untrustworthy, I can vouch for him in that regard.
No, not
He's,
untrustworthy. Because I would trust any of the forest gnomes with my very life. I stake my honor on it.
Eldove will look up at that. Maybe not this one. And he'll just bring out the face of that guy again.
Wow. No mark.
Maros looks at him and says, Yanvar, I believe. And he rattles off Yanvar's family and clan. And he's not from this village. He's from a forest further way up in the north somewhere is where his family's from. But yes, they're involved with the trade, the sale of various kinds of forest goods. With some of the human duchies, I understand.
How do you spell his name?
Who, Maris or Yanvar?
Yanvar.
I-A-N-V-A-R.
I-A-N-V-A-R. Yanvar. Alright, thank you.
Yeah, but what of him? It's a little odd, I grant you, that he has dealings with such strange creatures, but a good enough sort. He keeps his business well. Says, why? Is he back in town? He's asking us.
Sorry, I was in the other room. Oh yeah, I was in the other room. I could hear you though.
Okay.
Eldove will say, yeah, he's actually been trying to convince people to take the recipe from what was it, Yeg and something?
The Zodabrow?
Brew. Zodabrow.
Yeah.
Zodabrow from the local tavern.
To which he laughs loudly, and he says, well, he's the last in a very, very long line, I assure you. Says, I wonder if one day someone will finally crack those two.
Alright, fine. People don't give a shit. Alright.
And be a good little narc.
Yeah, nobody likes a tattletale.
Yeah.
What's the name of the tavern? Just one more?
Just one more tavern. Having been sitting quietly for most of the conversation, Zilbus finally pipes up and says, well, then, the question is of what we do with him now. Now that he's come to the woods and caused all this trouble and got the Fomorians all whipped up in a tizzy. Where is he off to now? What is he going to do? This man with no family and no clan, this man from another world, this man who has seen brilliant and wonderful things that our minds can only conceive of, etc., yada, yada, yada.
Is he asking me?
Well, we were headed to Lake Fenufar before we got caught up in whatever sorcery it causes these woods to make us travel in circles.
Marrow says that he can teach Zook the magic words that will let him traverse the forest the way that the natives do.
That would be, yeah, no, that would be amazing, because not only do I want to continue our journey now, but I would love to be able to come back and, you know, interact with the gnomes after our journey is done.
Zilbus inquires as to the nature of your visit to Lake Fenufar. Why is your company traveling there?
I honestly don't even remember.
The wizard.
We're off to see the wizard.
Yeah.
Yeah, Orphan will call. We're visiting a wizard.
Who hopefully has a cure for the common cold.
Apparently. And Zilbus says, looks over at Meros, and he inquires, he's like, that's the wizard that had dealing with Questrix, you remember?
Questrix.
To which Meros
Questrix.
nods.
Questrix, the name of the, he happened to live in a large tower?
Who, Questrix?
Yeah.
Zilbus says, no, he's a gnome like us. A great wizard. I bring him up because Questrix used to have these curious notions of other worlds or whatnot. Places beyond the sky that he conceived of, and he could journey to these places. He said he knew a way. And he often had
Really?
dealings with the wizard at Lake Fenufar.
Oh, look at Captain Tarin. Isn't that what you do to travel around?
Well, what I do isn't exactly safe or sane, but it doesn't exactly work the way I'd like it to, but yes.
Wait, well, this could be a different kind of travel between worlds, like the kind we'd want to do to go home, maybe.
Maris says, well, if that's the case, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but Questrix hasn't been seen in many years.
Greetings from the ethereal plane.
Where was he at last time? Where did he used to stay?
And he tells you gives you his village and clan that he hails from.
Which is meaningless to us. I'm
Further
sure.
to the south and much closer to the mountains than you are now. Yeah, meaningless information to you, but he thinks it's meaningful because he's a gnome.
Fair enough. Well, perhaps we can try to track him down.
Zilbus just laughs at that. Says, if you manage to track Questrix down, says, bring him back and I'll buy you a year's worth of the Zodabrow out of my own pocket. I'll do it. And I'll kiss you full on the mouth.
Maybe just the Zodabrow would be enough.
Where was he last seen? Like, what do you know? I mean, obviously that's his home. Where was it? Did he have a research lab? Was it in the material plane? Was it?
Meros doesn't understand what you mean by material plane, but he says, Questrix left the woods. And he says the words left the woods, like, very solemnly. Like, this was... He didn't just go on, like, a sojourn out of the forest one day. Like, he left the woods. He says he had dealings with deep gnomes and other sorts of underdark denizens. He dedicated his life to unearthing magics from very deep and dark places. Things that no gnome should look into. And Zilbus interrupts him. Says, he should have stuck to illusion if he knows what's good for him. Good, light, airy forest magic. That's what I always say. Maris says, this happened many, many years ago. He's no more than a legend. Whatever that became of him since, I'm sure nobody knows.
Was he young enough that either of you had met him?
Zilbus nods. He'd be a little older than me, I suppose. But I'm younger at heart. For all of eternity.
Well, maybe if we go speak to the man in the tower, or the man in at the lake, and out, let us know what became of this man, this wizard.
And at that, Maris looks a little bit confusedly. He says, oh, I was under the impression you were traveling to Fenufar to inquire about Questrix. All of this strange talks of woods that gnomes have never heard of.
Well, it seems like it may all be connected in some way.
Are there any other subjects that anybody wants to touch on with Maros?
So he's gonna. He said he could teach me how to travel the woods, so then we could pass through them, and I could also get back to this gnomish village. I'm assuming
he can teach you what he calls the lucky words, and this will allow you any wood that has a sylvan enchantment on it in Trennis. You will be able to navigate as the gnomes here do.
Would I be able to find other? Would I also be able to find other gnome villages, or do they have like unique words to get in their gates?
No, it's a common set of words.
Okay, cool. Yeah, other gnome villages. Yay.
Did we
no,
lose,
I mean,
did we lose Nodal? Is he still sitting here?
I'm here.
Okay. Nodal. You're not privy to these lucky words. Maros insists on taking Zook into private, but you understand the significance of them. Zook is being given something that you have never seen, like given knowledge that you've never seen imparted onto a mortal creature from Dunfoss for sure.
Okay.
Dinner is ham and eggs, if that's okay with you guys.
Ham and eggs is good stuff.
Where are the pigs for all
Orphan,
this?
Yeah.
Orphan would love some ham and eggs after her lunch.
Where are they? Are these? Is this wild hog that they're serving, or is this? Do they have pigs somewhere?
If they're keeping pigs in the village, you don't know where they're being kept. There's a chicken coop in the village, but you imagine it might have. It probably is wild meat.
Right. And
Cool.
when we were in the market, did we see other game like
yeah.
available in the market? Okay.
Rabbits, squirrels, mostly. Maybe a
'Cause I know-
beaver.
Jams.
I'm just curious. Since we're going out with rangers tomorrow, I was kind of curious what they were hunting.
And over the course of the
Are you
meal,
gonna ask
Maros.
if this guy has any jam?
Nah.
Is there any jam
That's
on the
just rude.
table for bread?
Frick's thinking about it.
No, there is freshly churned butter.
Did you have to roll on the jam table for that?
Maros is allergic to jam.
Oh.
He never
the first
serves it.
edition.
Oh, so
module.
he rolled on the allergy table.
Okay. No, I think we're good probably.
I do love a good dinner roll, though.
And throughout the
Smear
meal,
some warm butter on that warm dinner roll.
Maros continues to rattle off the names of the most like far-flung and obscure family lines that he can think of in Gnomish like heredity, trying to find any kind of purchase that he can attach to Zook.
Is it all meaningless to me? He doesn't randomly say a family name that I recognize or anything.
No, he does not.
Doesn't get weird.
It's
Okay.
just, he just does not grasp the idea that you're not from here. He doesn't get it. Is
I
anybody
guess I
gonna
could start lying, but that just seems pointless.
Is anybody going to do anything late at night?
I have some ideas around midnight.
I was going to revisit the alchemist with the coin pouch full of dragon powder.
I
Hey,
did say
Eldove, before...
I did
good.
say I was going to go see the druid at day's end.
Okay.
I think Arik and I are going to bed early so we can get up and go
Yeah.
play with rangers.
Hey, Eldove, do you have that bundle of dwarven tobacco that we picked up in the forest still?
No, I left that on the ship.
Oh, you did? Bollocks.
Also, Brick, you should check your messages.
Okay.
Oh, God.
So who wants to be involved with this owl undertaking at midnight?
Nope.
So, I want to hear all about it in the morning. But if you're just sitting, like, tell you what, I'm going back. I'm going back to the room to try to get some sleep because I have to get up early. But if shit goes down, come get me.